It's time to go inside Philip's head. Thoughts of the month.
Hey guys, for my thought of the month this month, I wanted to talk to you about kind of the self-esteem movement. Sometimes I look around and I'm like, how the hell did we get here? And so you really want to go back probably a generation or 30 years maybe back, and you want to look at what were the prominent things that were going on during that period that were this great new, usually it's this great new innovation and it takes off like wildfire. And one of the things that I think that really has shaped some of the culture and some of the challenges that we have today is what's called the self-esteem movement, or everybody gets a trophy. And again, don't just hear me out on this. I'm not trying to be super critical of, like not treating people as if they have value and all those things. But I think there's an incredible downside to this whenever it's not based off of merit. And I think if you were to link some of the conditions and the situations that we have that are not good for individuals, so I want to make that very clear. What I'm talking about here is things that are very unhealthy for individuals. I think you can link it back to this self-esteem movement. And there was a California lawmaker back in the 80s who, his name was John, I'm going to say this wrong, but it was Vasconcellos. That's probably right. John Vasconcellos. He was a California lawmaker, and he was instrumental in establishing the California Task Force to promote self-esteem and personal and social responsibilities in the late 80s. And if you look at really what they were focused on, it was basically telling people how worthy and how valuable that they were, which is a good thing, you would think, on the surface, right? But what happens whenever they're not valuable or they're not doing good things and they're still hearing that they're doing good things? Well, that's going to cause, I believe, a lot of angst within the person that's hearing that, because I think in their heart of hearts they know what's good and what's right, but yet they're getting praised. I think some other negative things that can come out of that is that, there's this self righteousness or this self compassion where you think that, whoever you are and however you are is okay. And you'll usually try to link it to something that happened to you in your past. You hear that a lot today. And really, I think that what's good for society is indeed recognizing that. So the understanding and seeing what happened and how that could affect you, but then overcoming that challenge with the work that it takes. And I think that's the key emphasis here, is that in order to receive praise, there needs to be a level of work that is done. And when you devoid people of that truth or that fact, you wind up putting them in a place where they're almost dependent on praise, and almost like a kid, that if they're not getting good attention, they'll do something bad because ultimately they just want attention. And I think if you look at our society in a lot of ways, that is a reflection of what happens a lot and what we've been through over, say, the past, kind of matured itself, I think, over the last 10 years, where, I want attention and I don't really care. You can look at social media, where, you're comparing yourself to others, and then that's why all the posts are your greatest day kind of post versus the real life things. And people keep seeing how great this is for somebody else, and your life isn't that great, right? You haven't, and probably theirs isn't either. But yet there's this mindset for a mindset and a desire for recognition. Look at me, look at me, and I think that unhealthy focus of ourself, rather than looking externally and validating by some form of work yourself, is so detrimental to our society, where we have people who can't regulate their emotions because of there's been so much of this type of stimulation that is needed in order for them to feel emotionally safe, and it causes them to really be in a very angst position at all times. And I think it really strains relationships. It causes people to possibly, this is where I think a lot of these kind of fringe things that we're seeing come out that we're trying to call normal, I think a lot of that is just driven by the person's desire to stand out. And if they can't stand out because they haven't been taught that in order to stand out, you want to do these moral and good things, they'll try to stand out doing something that's just crazy off the wall. And the more society keeps telling them that those things are normal, the sad part is the worse it is for them, and also the worse it is for society. So that's my month. You guys tell me if I'm way off base here. I'm cool with not everybody agreeing, but that's just an observation when I try to look at, I ask the question, how did we get here? I kind of go back, and I think that's a key component in how we got to where we are in today's society. And again, I think that I'm not trying to be judgmental here. I'm trying to be more observant, and then also trying to think of the culture as a whole, the humans that are being affected in a negative way, as well as the culture. I think is the culmination that we're seeing now could be linked back to something like the self-esteem movement.